Good evening, and welcome once again to the Shadow Gallery. I am, as always, your host, James Donnelly. And it is 3:12 a.m. here in Arizona, and I have very recently come back from the midnight screening of The Avengers. This cigarette here is representative usually in older movies of after having some of the best sex you've ever had, you have the post-coital cigarette. Well, this movie, wow. First of all, believe the hype. This movie is that fucking awesome. This is, okay, I'm saying this not counting the Nolan Batman films, particularly The Dark Knight. But this is the greatest superhero movie ever made. And I'll tell you why. One thing that superhero movies usually get hampered by is that the threat ends up being kind of weak. You know, it's like Superman fighting Lex Luthor over and over and over again. Or, Spidey battling the Green Goblin. Or Doc Ock. Or Venom and Sandman. It's sometimes people, Iron Man fighting Obadiah Stane or Whiplash and the Hammer bots. That was actually probably the closest that this has come to. Actually, Iron Man 2, its third act is probably the closest that it's come to a film of being pure comic book, straight off the page energy. I will admit that Iron Man 2 is flawed, but it's really not as bad as people think it is. I don't understand really why everybody seems to hate on it so much. But anyway, what we have here with the Avengers is a threat worthy, organically, of gathering these heroes together to fight them simultaneously. It's not just one guy. It's an entire fucking army laying waste to New York. That's a big deal. Oh, man. I mean, I'm still totally high from this. It hits every beat that it needs to. There's nothing that feels false about this film. So basically, here we have, what we have in this film is essentially, it's a nod to the very first issue of the Avengers. In part. It's also in part a nod to, of course, when Cap joins the Avengers. It's also a nod to when Hawkeye and Black Widow end up joining the Avengers. Because you have, as its writer-director, you have Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon, people were not sure that he could direct a film of this magnitude, especially at a rumored $250 million budget. He can, he did, he has his own style, his own flair. He manipulates and moves the camera extremely well. But what obviously is his greatest gift is his ear for dialogue and character. And that's where this film ultimately succeeds, is that each character has their perfect moment. A moment that they've never had before in any of the films that they're solo films, or just as a peripheral character like Black Widow. She's got her awesome moment. Hawkeye has got like a couple of awesome moments. Cap has his awesome moments. Thor has his awesome moments. Iron Man has his awesome moments. Nick Fury has his awesome moments. And then there's the Hulk. Now, one of the reviews that I did read that was a tiny bit spoilery was that the Hulk is really, once you get to the third act, he's kind of the centerpiece of this film. And is not only responsible for some of the more cheer-worthy moments, and the crowd that I went to see it with was awesome. But he's also responsible for two of its three funniest moments. It's pure movie. It's pure superhero movie heaven. That's the best way that I can describe it, because it gives everything that you pay for plus way more. I mean, when you're expecting a film about the Avengers, you're expecting to see them, okay, this is how they get together. Okay? This is the threat that they face. This is how they stop it. Of course, we have reappearing in this film the big MacGuffin of the Cosmic Cube, or the Tesseract, as it's called in these films, which, is this source of unlimited energy. And, it opens up with Loki essentially really finding a way to possess it. And to, basically that he escapes, well, he kind of falls into this other planet. It's not really that big of a reveal, but the villains, the army that Loki commands is an army of the Chitauri, which are the aliens that, if you read the first two volumes of Mark Millar and Brian Hitch's The Ultimates, you'll be familiar with them. Now, they don't have the same kind of personality that they do there, but it's similar. And what's even... And so, we have basically this first act, they're trying to find Loki, and Nick Fury is assembling his team for various reasons. And then you have the second act, which is basically comprised of, this kind of separation within the team itself. This kind of back and forth bickering and fighting. Because there's an epic fight between Iron Man and Thor. There's not so epic of a fight, but an epic result of a fight between Cap and Thor. And then once you get basically near the end of the second act, you have an epic fight between Thor and Hulk. And then the third act is just... It's ungodly. I mean, it is just... It's Whedon at his better than I've ever seen him. As far as... Okay, let me rephrase that. It's just about as excellent as anything I've ever seen from him. And then we have our cast. We have Downey. He's awesome. He continues being awesome as Tony Stark. He continues hitting all of his perfect notes as far as his character is concerned. We have Chris Evans as Cap, again, hitting it right out of the park. Chris Hemsworth, excellent job. I mean, just him being conflicted about the fact that, you know, he needs to stop what's going on, but it's Loki. It's his brother. We have Mark Ruffalo taking over the reins of Bruce Banner from the two previous actors and playing it honestly better than anyone has played it before. And there are, and you know, and Ruffalo, you know, he's been essentially offered like a 6-picture deal with Marvel, so hopefully they will continue to make Hulk films. And we had, you know, Scarlett Johansson is really, really good. I mean, she's excellent. I mean, she's really, you know, again, Joss loves to show his women being strong. She's never, ever, ever a damsel in distress, even when you think that she might be. Jeremy Renner, unfortunately, is kind of the one that is the most sidelined throughout a good deal of this film, but when he does have his moments, they're awesome. Sam Jackson as Nick Fury kills it. He's perfect for this role. Because there's something going on there. There's always something going on with Nick Fury. He has a plan. It may not be a plan that's in the best interest of everything that's going on, but, and that's also one of the things that I thought was really cool about this, is that there's a reveal in the second act that kind of, you know, that kind of kickstarts all of this infighting, and, you know, it reveals something very significant about Fury and his character. And there's also this board that he has to answer to, which we have Powers Booth and Jenny Agutter, you know, essentially not much more than cameos. And Tom Hiddleston as Loki he's awesome. He's incredible. And of course, Clark Gregg as Phil Coulson, Captain America's #1 fan. You know, I mean, there's just all these beats that mix together into this perfect cocktail of superhero Whedon-y goodness. And that's what makes this film, I mean, of course the effects are astounding. The action sequences are mind-blowing. It's like nothing you've ever seen before, and it's something that you've been dreaming about since you were a kid. When you were reading comic books as a kid, you said to yourself, you know what? I really want to see these guys together. And while it's, you know, I mean, Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, the cartoon, is awesome. No denying that. But you want to see a live-action version of it, because, come on. How awesome would that be? And here it is. And it's perfect. I mean, aside from a few very forgivable flaws, you know, there's a little bit of a plot hole that I couldn't quite figure out. I didn't think that it was really something that was explained very well. But I'm not going to get into really that part of it. I'm just saying, Whedon wrote and directed the living shit out of this film. And if Marvel is smart and they do their next batch of, Iron Man 3, Cap 2, Thor 2, another Hulk film, get Whedon back for the sequel to this film, which you know is going to be coming. And there are 2 post-credit sequences, so make sure you stay to the very end. So, The Avengers, 5 out of 5 stars. Absolutely phenomenal. So that's it for this edition of the Shadow Gallery. Go see this fucking movie. you won't regret it. Stay in the shadows, people. See you next time.